Alright, hey everyone, so welcome, drones section. So I'll just quickly turn here. So my name is Shreyas. I'm the Victorian UAV sales manager for CR Kennedy, and I also do flight demonstrations. I'll tell you straight up, I've got no surveying background whatsoever. I'm an aviation guy, so I fly planes and drones and things. We've had to incorporate survey into drones for CR Kennedy. So has anyone actually got a license or flown a drone before? No? Even a small one? Mavic, Phantoms? No? Okay. This particular drone here is from DJI. So DJI is the leading company. You've probably seen their banners and all over JB Hi-Fi and things like that. They have drones anywhere from the small selfie drones all the way up to something that's commercial and industrial like this. And they even go bigger. So there's two other ones. One is a hexacopter, which has 6 props, mainly designed for filming. And then there's an octocopter above that, which is designed for agriculture. For the sake of surveying and inspection, we use this one here. It is a Matrice 200. So there's 3 kind of drones that fall into this particular category. So you've got a Matrice 200, a 210 and a 210 RTK. So the difference being is a Matrice 200 has one gimbal that sits on the bottom. The Matrice 210, which is this one, has 2 gimbals on the bottom and one on the top, so you can put either one on top and one on the bottom, or both on the bottom. And then you've got the RTK version. So the benefit of the RTK is if you're flying near areas of high electromagnetic interference, power lines and all that sort of stuff, the RTK is the best drone to use because it stops the dunny effect. So it's been known to have orientation issues due to that interference. So what they say is if you use the RTK, you set up a ground station and the drone triangulates its coordinates and make sure the drone doesn't lose its orientation. So you don't really need it for survey unless you're in one of those areas, but this middle drone is the best one to use. So basic things about it. So it's got a lot of redundancy. So first of all, if the drone was to lose its connection with the controller, it can automatically come back to you, and it can even land from where it took off from. You can manually tell it to return to home. If you're flying manually and you let go of the sticks or you're about to crash into a tree, the drone just sits. It doesn't move, it just stops. So if we're able to, I'll demo that for you. So with regards to flying for survey, you don't really have to do much manual flying, in fact nothing at all. You use an app, say Pix4D Capture. It's a free app, and you use that in partnership with the software on the computer. So when you're doing your mission, what you do is get Pix4D, draw like a grid on it, very user friendly, select your altitude, and you want to select an overlap percentage. Those are the 3 main things to set up. So if you want to get a good data set, your best overlap percentage should be minimum 70%. If you're going to do 70 to 80, that's perfect. If you do any less than that, your Pix4D computer software may not actually be able to pick up the overlap. If you do say 100%, that's pretty much overkill. You're going to drain your battery a lot quicker for no reason really. So 70% is sort of the best way to go. With regards to altitude, you want to fly the drone at about 60 meters. Again, 60 to 80 meters is the best because your flight time is going to be reduced. The closer you are to the ground, the less overlap it has and the more stops it has to make along the way to capture that photo. If you fly a little bit higher, you can still get a good resolution and you can still get enough data to make a full 3D model or a point cloud on Pix4D. Is anyone familiar with Pix4D? Anyone use it? You are? Anyone else? Yeah, okay. So Pix4D is a program we use to stitch the photos together. So it's like a 12.5 grand software if you get a permanent license. What you get is point clouds, 3D models, ortho mosaics, make all your calculations and whatnot. It's very simple to use because once the mission is done on the drone, you simply take the SD card, pop it into there and dump the photos there. So it's a very simple process. The reason people are leaning towards the drone these days is because it cuts your cost down You make money off it like you do with all the other instruments. It saves time, and it's sort of the latest technology. So what I mean by it saves you money is that something like this setup will cost you about $30,000 for the full package. So a breakup of that is the drone itself is about 10 grand. The camera on top is an X4S camera, so it's 20 megapixels, 4K resolution. Ideal for survey. You don't want anything higher than that because it doesn't really need to be any higher. So that's $1,000, and then the software, depending if you go monthly, yearly, or permanent. And then there is a third-party unit which is highly recommended to get if you're doing survey. It's called the Loki system. I've got some brochures I'll hand around after. What the Loki does is it has a little box which you install just onto the front of the drone there. And once you've done your mission, you get those photos, put it into the software, and it post-processes all of that data. So essentially what you then get is data which is 20 mil accurate in X and Y and 50 in Z. So if you were to fly the drone without the Loki, let's say you fly it with no ground control, no Loki, nothing, you're going to get about 10 meters, 20 meter error, because the drone itself is not actually designed for survey. It's not specifically calibrated to get survey data. It is a survey drone, but if you want that accuracy, you're going to need something added onto it. So what you do is you get the Loki, and then you can even get ground control points. So you go out with your GPS rover, get some points, and then put that into Pix4D. Now, if you don't have the Loki, you must have ground control. If you have the Loki, you don't need ground control. So that's another reason why the Loki is about $15,000, is because you don't need to go around the park for 2 hours putting a stick in the ground trying to get points. Simply install it, set the drone up, do its mission, and you've got all that data ready to go in the computer. So all of that put together, you get something about $30,000 in the package. So there is another drone which we don't have on display, but we have a roadshow coming up on the 9th of November if you're interested to register and come down. What we're going to be displaying is this drone and the Wingtra. The Wingtra is a new fixed wing and multi-rotor combined drone. It's a 42 megapixel camera compared to 20. So flying at 60 meters, you can see like a coin on the ground. It takes off and lands vertically, reaches its peak, and transitions into an aircraft. Once it gets into that position, it shoots off and does its flight mission. So the advantage of that is, let's say we wanted to survey this entire park here. That drone would take you 2.5 to 3 hours to do. Include all your ground control points, change of battery, because you only get 16 to 25 minutes of battery on this. All of that put together, you're going to be here for quite some time. The Wingtra has a speed of about 60 to 80 kilometers an hour. It does 400 hectares, and it has a 55-minute flight time. So if you shoot the Wingtra up here, do this area, you'll do it in 10 minutes. So you've cut down your flight time, all that extra work, and it's about a $50,000 drone. So it's only useful if you're going to be doing large areas, and if you're going to be doing pure survey and survey alone. If you're going to be doing survey, inspection, some other stuff, this will be the better option to go. So that is another alternative which has now just been released for a few months ago. I've got some brochures to show you, but very specific to surveying that drone. So with regards to the battery time on this one, so you get 16 to 25 minutes of flight time, so you won't be able to finish a full survey mission with that. You'll have to come back, swap the batteries over, hit the resume button, and it'll go back to its last point. Or you can get the bigger battery, which is a little bit more powerful. It gives you 25 to 35 minutes. The limitation of that is if you're transporting that in an aircraft, you can only have 2 per person. So if you're traveling interstate to do a job, you can only have 2 on you. So that's why most people stick to these batteries, because you can have unlimited. That sort of leads on to the regulations and the law. So is everyone familiar with CASA? Everyone knows what CASA is, Civil Aviation Safety Authority. They've set some standard regulations. So if your drone is less than 2 kilograms, so say you want to stay clear of this and stick to a Phantom, to do your survey. You don't need to have a license for it. You can fly it provided you're within the standard conditions. They are, you must not fly at night time. You must fly within line of sight, so you must always be able to see the drone. You shouldn't fly any closer than 30 meters to people horizontally, not over populous areas, not above 400 feet, which is the height of Melbourne Star, so 120 meters, and not within 5.5 k's of a towered aerodrome.
What was the last one?
Not within 5.5 kilometers of an airport. Yeah. Pretty much all of those rules you're going to break at some point. Let's say 30-meter rule, that is near impossible to avoid because you're going to have cars, you're going to have people, you're going to have buildings. What CASA have done is they've tailored it to work in their favour. So basically, if someone who flies unlicensed does one of those things and crashes or has an incident, they can get fined and be taught a lesson, really. If somebody is licensed and they breach one of those rules, they go through their history and they check all their licenses, their operator certificate, regulations, which I'll touch on in a sec, and they kind of go, alright, if this is your job type, all your boxes are ticked, you've done a risk assessment, you've done a JSA, all of that's done, you're fine. Now, with the penalties, they work on a demerit point kind of system. So let's use our 30-meter example. Say you've breached that rule and you get pinned. That rule is 50 penalty points. So what that means is it's not like you get your points deducted like you would on your driver's license. Each point is worth $180. So do the math and you're up to $9,000 by breaking one rule. What I've said to people is if you've broken one rule, chances are you've broken another 2 or 3 along the way. Anyone remember Bunnings, Sausage Man? Sausage guy, snag, yep, got done. Okay, I used to be an instructor before CRK, so I did licensing for the drones and stuff. I had one student who was actually lived in the same neighborhood as that guy, and they said, yeah, he got done bad because there was some theory or rumors as to whether it was true or not. He broke the line of sight rule, he broke the 30-meter rule, populous area over the 4-lane highway, and then it all added up and he got hit pretty hard. So it does exist, the rules are there, and you do get caught, but if you do the licensing and the REOC, you should be fine. So the licensing is a 5-day course. It costs $2,700 to do. If you want to get enrolled, let me know, I'll give you my details, because what we do is we partner with a company, they're called AV Assist. They operate in Australia and they have a local course here in Yarraville. So it's a 5-day course. They'll teach you aerodynamics, human factors, navigation, air law, all the pilot subjects condensed into 5 days really. That's the way it works. Within that 5 days, you will have to do 2 exams, so like a radio license exam and a final exam on those subjects, and you also need to do a flight test on Friday. So what that test involves is flying around cones, making sure you don't get disorientated, handling unusual situations and things. Once you've passed that, you then need to get a REOC. So if you're going to be doing survey kind of work, you need to have an operator certificate. What that entitles you to do is to operate commercially, because the drone is above 2 kilos. This one here is 4.4 kilos, and it goes up to 6 on a full payload. So you need to have a REOC, and you also need to pay an upfront fee and do a CASA test. So they're going to ask you how to read the aviation map back to front. They'll say, you know, if you're doing a survey in this park here, what's the maximum altitude you can go to? What's the area frequency? They will also test you on your knowledge of your operations manuals. So part of your manuals have to say, we're doing survey work, these are the locations, these are the drones we fly, these are the people employed, this is my JSA and risk assessment. They'll test you on that. They'll say, alright, after 3 months, you're good to go. It'll last for a year, and after that 1 year, you have to renew it. So after the first renewal, it'll take a couple of weeks to get that done, and then you're good for 3 years. So after the first year, it's 3 years after that. So they're quite lenient with regulations and rules if you've gone through that whole process. So as I normally say to guys, like if you're doing survey work, you've kind of got your own division within your company. So you've got a chief pilot, you've got procedures, you've got the drones, policies, all that sort of stuff. So it's not just as simple as taking the drone out and flying. There is a little bit of background to it as well. All right, any questions so far? No? Okay. So we'll get the drone up and running in a sec. So a couple of key features on it is if you were to get this package, you've got this control. Hopefully if no one's around, someone can have a quick fly of it as well. Very, very simple to use. As I said, you got to basically let go of the sticks, the drone stops. If we're going to be doing a survey mission, it's all automated. You don't have to touch the sticks at all. This one here, up and down will give you your throttle, and left and right will give you a rotation. Up and down on here will give you your pitch, so forward and backwards, and then left and right roll. Those who are into Xbox and PlayStation games and stuff, you can switch those around. I've had a few people do that. But standard controls is just very basic, up and down, left and right, and then your roll. So is anyone game enough to actually fly? We'll see, okay. Alright, I'll keep it in P mode. P mode is position mode. That's what you're going to be using when you're flying in GPS. So if you're doing your survey mission, you want it to be in P mode because it's going to get its GPS data. Again, it's not accurate because it's using its internal GPS, hence why we do the post-processing part to calibrate those pictures back. If you do sports mode, you're going to drain your battery and it's going to be a lot quicker, and it's only used for like manual flying. You don't really set it up when you do your survey. Now, with obstacle avoidance, a common question is, does it stop if it's about to run into a tree or a wall? The answer is yes. It has front sensors and it has a sensor on the bottom, but it doesn't have it on the sides and it doesn't have it on the back, nor does it have it on the top. It has a ceiling height which you can set on the system. So say you want 50 meter ceiling height. If the drone gets to that level, it just sort of stops. It just gets stuck. With the sensors though, if you're in sports mode, it will not work. It's been tested. As I said to the other guys, we had one person from CRK who was flying a Mavic, doing a demo like this. A big water tank was sitting in the corner, puts it into sports mode and goes, let me show you the obstacle avoidance. It works brilliant. Flew it as fast as he could, straight into the water tank, smashed, splattered all over the place. Everyone was on the floor laughing, so he doesn't really like to tell people, but I'm like, you know what, I'm going to share your story for you. So don't try it in sports mode, okay? I'll leave it in P mode for today, but if you get stuck with orientation, just let go of the sticks, the drone will just stop there. Pretty simple. Quickly on the camera there is a 4K one. As I said before, it's a 20 megapixel camera. I also have a Z30 in that little case there. The Z30 camera is a 30 times optical zoom camera and a 6 times digital zoom camera. So if we're standing here, we can zoom into like the serial number of that crane all the way back there. So 180 times altogether, incredible amount of zoom. The resolution is not as high for obvious reasons, but you don't really use it if you're doing surveys. So this is the basic camera. You can also attach a thermal camera if you want. A lot of the solar panel surveys use both, so you can put two cameras and link them up. Do a flight mission and then you go, here's the thermal data and here's the RGB data, and you compare them up like that. There is a new camera which is just released which has both in one as well. So we're all clear. Okay, let's have a crack. Okay. Probably be a little bit hard to see, but you can sort of see what we're looking at. A bit of gimbal tilt if we choose. You've got your speed on the bottom, your distance and your height. You've also got a GPS or like an aircraft radar at the top. So if an airplane is to fly over the top, it'll tell you that there's an aircraft above. Be careful. So that's just a redundancy thing there. You've got a focus knob here. And if we had a second camera, you can actually change between the screens. So you can alternate. Pick this one or pick that one. You can pair them up so they link. So if you take one picture, it takes it on both. And that's actually all there is to it. Very, very straightforward and easy to see. So we'll share it around once I get it airborne and just have a quick fiddle around with it. See, I've already let go, it's just sitting there. This is in P mode. If I put it into attitude mode, that's the third mode on this drone. What's going to happen is the drone will hold it tight, but it's going to drift with wind. So you might think, why is that even a thing? So the reason is because if you lose